Your headlines on Newsfeed: the Human Rights Commission asking to meet with all of those involved in the making of that controversial advert over the hair of black people. Meanwhile, the Democratic Alliance lays charges against Julius Malema and the EFF for inciting violence and destroying property during their Clicks shutdown protests. More from the DA this afternoon. They say race has been used opportunistically by ANC people to steal public funds instead of addressing the real issues of poverty and unemployment. Good afternoon to you. Well, let's get a bit more now on what's happened with Clicks and those adverts that spoke so, I suppose, racistly about the issues regarding the hair of black people and white people. Solly Moeng is a brand expert, an expert on advertising. Solly, good afternoon to you. We see this happening time and time again. What is going on in our advertising and branding agencies that this keeps happening?
Well, hi, Stephen, and to the audience out there. Look, there's something wrong in the processes that are being followed by these companies to get to the point where advertisements are approved to go into the market. And it really doesn't matter whether the advert was made here in Australia, in America. The fact is somebody here in South Africa must be able to say, okay, we can use this one in our market, or we cannot use this one in our market. Somebody approved this thing, they shouldn't have approved it.
Is there something maybe with the entire beauty industry? It has a particular view of beauty. Now, let me just sort of explain what I mean. I mean, if this came originally, we understand now, from Tresemme, it's part of Unilever, it's headquartered in the European Union. The whole sort of beauty industry, I don't mean the whole beauty industry, but you think of supermodels, you think of Italy, you don't think really of South Africa, for example. And that talks about how the beauty industry has worked over the years. Is it because of that the beauty industry, the global beauty industry, has a particular perception of European beauty?
Well, Stephen, it's a very, very complex topic. In a way, yes, it's true. But look, there's something that African women, including in South Africa, don't want to talk about is the wearing of artificial hair. Where does that come from? What inspires that? It's inspired by perceptions of beauty that do not come from Africa. So we accept certain things, we do not accept certain things. But it's true that on the whole, the entire fashion industry is very much driven by what's going on, developments, trends in London, in New York, in Paris, in Toronto, in other places like those. And we adopt those things. We adopt at least aspects of them that we like and others that we don't like.
Companies often claim to be transformed, but it seems that when problems come, that maybe show that they aren't. I mean, a company, I think, Clicks is 80% of black people who work there. I mean, that doesn't mean the decision-making process is properly transformed.
Yeah, that's a big problem. Exactly. Look, I've seen a lot of these processes, Stephen, where you go into the room with the team, the marketing team or the design team. The small black guys are sitting there politely nodding. You know, either they're afraid to speak out or they're not given the space they need to say, wait a minute, this is not right, this is right. And that's the problem. So some people think that transformation is just about the numbers. But transformation is far more than the numbers. Transformation is about how we think, how we view the world around us, how we interact with the world around us. And this is where a lot of these companies tend to fail because they don't allow the kind of diversity of voices that is required in order to get this sort of thing to the point where everybody can agree that it will work or it will not work.
How does a company know when it's transformed? And again, sorry, I'm asking you all the big questions this afternoon, but I mean, that's a big question. A company might think, some people might think, the board might think that they've transformed. Actually, something happens, shows that they aren't.
Well, precisely, Stephen, because transformation in South Africa is measured in terms of what level, BEE level, triple BEE level you are at. And that is, informed by how many black people you employ, how many women, how many people with disabilities, or whom you give your business to, etc., etc. They don't look at the culture, and that's the problem. So when you have the same thing happening over and over and over again, it means there is something wrong with the culture in the business. And how do you transform the culture? How do you transform minds? You can't. The only way is businesses must have values. And those values must be clear. They must speak to the environment in which they operate. And then maybe hopefully people will get to the point where they understand what is offensive, what is not offensive. You can't go to Saudi Arabia and start selling pork in the streets. It's not going to happen. I'm saying you have to work with locals who will tell you, listen, maybe you can do that in New York or in Toronto or in Johannesburg, but you can't do that here in Saudi Arabia. And we're not doing that enough here. I think that too much gets allowed to go into the market that shouldn't go into the market. And when people complain, and I think all these black people, including myself, were saying this is nonsense, we have reason to say this is nonsense. The EFF is right to be angry. All these people, I have a daughter who has hair like that. Okay, and her hair is not dull. She has beautiful hair. So when I see an ad in my own country that describes my daughter's hair as dull, I have reason to get worried. I have reason to worry. Now, who controls these things? Who is trying to impose on me what is dull and what is not dull in terms of African hair? That's a problem. So the transformation of the culture, of the thinking, and the respect, actually, it also comes with respect. If you don't respect the environment in which you're working, the people, the market that you're trying to sell products into, there's a problem. And we end up with this sort of thing happening.
Is it possible for brands like this to correct? And I mean, you might find, Solly, you don't want to give free advice to clicks, and I'll understand that. But there are ways as well to show that you're trying to change, aren't there?
Say it again?
There are ways that a company can show that it's trying to change.
Yes, of course. The thing is, companies must just change. They mustn't just show that they're trying to change. The culture is important, Stephen. The respect, if you have, again, it's how you speak about things, how you address things, even when you think nobody is listening. Those things go to the core of the culture. And if people pretend to be one thing in public and there's something else when the doors are closed, it means that we are not where we should be as a country. It's not going to go away. People must just wake up. I mean, clicks shouldn't have been where it's at today. Look at the costs, in damages and or the noise in the country. So race is South Africa's biggest fault line. If you shout racist in a room filled with South Africans, you're going to have a stampede. And this is what we have now. And you're going to have political opportunists trying to take advantage of the situation to gain attraction in the media.
This has all happened before to big brands. It was H&M, I think, with this happened to a few years ago. And the point is often made on Twitter, on social media, I'm sure you'll have seen it, Solly, where people say, but, we still shop at H&M. Do you think people are still going to shop at Clicks?
Well, Stephen, my view of this is I don't think there was a corporate decision at Clicks to say, let's go at these black people. I don't think so. I don't think it's a deliberate corporate decision, all right? I think that I do think, however, that Clicks must come clean. They must apologize. They must tell us what measures they're going to put in place to make sure these things don't happen. But I also do think that there must be consequence. Those people who are taking Clicks to the equality court are doing the right thing. There's got to be a fine, especially because it's happened before at Clicks. There's got to be consequence. We don't need more regulation that we already have in South Africa. We just need to apply to enforce the regulations that we currently have.
Solly Moeng, thanks very much indeed, the brand expert. Really do appreciate it. Well, there's been a huge reaction, as you can imagine, to what's been happening around Clicks and tweets from you on this. Let's have a look at some of your reaction to this. You're saying, I just hope that maybe some companies are also inspecting their own policies and procedures so that such racist ads don't see the light of day. It's quite exhausting to always be seeing these matters resurface every now and then. This nonsense needs to stop. Yes. Other tweets coming through this afternoon. Quinonia, well, you're saying if we did everything that Twitter said we should do, many would be stuck with consequences that they can't undo. Stand up against injustice. Speak up about what's wrong and take action where it's required. But also be responsible because you're the one held accountable. Okay, interesting response to that. Wusi Maimani saying, we cannot handle our difficult conversations in the same way for 26 years. This Click saga is an example of how, yet again, we're not engaging with empathy, with compassion, and with a view to building unity. And other people, of course, tweeting about this. Riabetso is saying, what Clicks calls damage is what we call beautiful. And I like the heart there as well. All right, we will, of course, bring you more on that and more reaction as we go through the afternoon.